Hi, this is Asa, and welcome to my audio experience. I have to tell you, I am super excited for the guest we have with us right now. There's a brand new movie coming out that is just going to shake the foundations, I really think, of the film industry. It's called Let There Be Light. It opens in theaters. It's one of the most anticipated Christian films, and it's one of those that'll make you laugh and it'll make you cry, but it'll make you cheer for the gospel more than anything else. You can check it out at lettherebelightmovie.com, and the producer and, of course, the lead actor in it is with us, and I'm excited to have him. I've met him a few times and just think the world of him. Kevin Sorbo, thanks for being with us on the show.
Thank you so much. You got to give me one more title. I did direct the movie as well.
Take the director too. I knew you had your hands all over it. It's just it's an amazing film, and a great project as well. What really led you, Kevin, to go down that path? And I mean, you've been in so many films. What led you in this direction to create a movie like Let There Be Light?
Well, I think it goes back about 6-7 years when I did my first really so-called faith-based movie, which was called What If, that with the Pureflix guys. It was the first time I shot with Pureflix. It was directed by Dallas Jenkins, who's Jerry Jenkins' son. Jerry wrote the Left Behind books. And that kind of kicked me off on this. I've been a Christian my whole life, and wasn't that I was not looking for Christian movies or looking for them. That one just sort of fell in my lap, and it was a great experience. It was one of my favorite movies out there. So people haven't seen it, check out What If. And then that led to God's Not Dead, of course, and that thing just became unbelievable. That just thing took off through word of mouth, which we're hoping the same thing happens with Let There Be Light. But my wife actually wrote the script. I read it, and I said, this is great. We got to get this done. I mean, you got to go through the channels you always got to go through, and finding money is always the hardest thing. And 3 days later, I get a call from Sean Hannity. And Sean says, I love your faith-based movies, Kevin. I've been thinking about this. I want to do a movie with you. Do you have anything? And I said, well, actually, we do. We flew to New York. We pitched him, and he let us talk for 30 minutes. He didn't interrupt me once. And he wrote a check. And then 4 or 5 months later, we're down in Birmingham, Alabama, filming. I mean, it's ridiculous because most movies, from the idea of a script to getting to film to getting on a screen, is 3 to 5 years. And this thing happened all under a year. So it's really a God thing. It's pretty amazing how this has come together.
It really is, and when we met, you shared some of that with me. Sean Hannity, of course, in the same business that I'm in, and I've met Sean several times, spent some time with him. He's just a great guy, and in the radio world, people say that Sean is the same, on the mic as he is behind the mic, and he is. He's the same guy. He's the same guy you see on Fox. He doesn't change.
I golf with the guy. High energy. He's a businessman. He's a political man. He'll just keep on going. There's no slowing him down. So what you see is what you get.
It is, and just a ton of integrity and his heart for this project. I'm really excited about. So that's a really cool thing, Kevin. I can't wait myself for it to come out and to be a part like we are right now to help you promote it and get it out. As many people to see it as possible, because especially those that don't know the gospel, those that have never heard about Christ or maybe have heard about him but really don't know. They need that little bit of push. And that's the thing about Christian film that I think is so great, and I'm glad you're doing this. Why is Christian film so important? Not the cheesy Christian films, a quality film like this that can really go to the theaters and make an impact. Why do you think that is? Why is it so critical?
Well, I just think it's really important to keep movies out there that deal with this. I mean, you think about Jesus; he spoke in parables, right? That's how he spoke.
That's right.
Because storytelling is it's communicating on sort of like a visceral level through emotions and memory, and we want to tell stories that move people to be more than. We want people to be more than what they thought they could be. That to empower them and to uplift them, especially now. With everything happening in Hollywood today and what's happening, around the world, disasters, the fires here in California, the earthquake, the hurricanes that are going on. People need to reach out. They need support, and specifically Christian cinema gives that support because it advances a lot of people's worldview and promotes virtue. It promotes faith. And, if we're going to have a culture we want to live in, we need Christian cinema to take the leading role. And hopefully that's what's going to happen here with this movie. If you look at God's Not Dead, low-budget movie, low-budget movies, well, these are small independent films. I used to get stopped all the time because of Hercules or Andromeda. That was 12 years of my life in those TV shows, big shows around the world. I get stopped 80% of the time now, easily going through the grocery store, going to the post office, going through the airport. People come up to me and they say, please make more movies like God's Not Dead, What If, Abel's Field, please. Well, I'm telling you something, we made that movie. This is a wonderful movie, but we need your support, and we need people that want more movies like this that are family-friendly, they're faith-based. They need to show up opening weekend because we don't have $150 million for a budget to promote it like they do for Pirates of the Caribbean or Star Wars. You know, we have nothing like that. I mean, this is a $3 million movie. That's like catering on Pirates of the Caribbean, you know. So we need people to get to the theater opening weekend because that way it'll expand theaters for the next weekend and the weekend after that, like it did for God's Not Dead.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what we'll be doing here to help any way that we can. Let There Be Light is the movie. Kevin Sorbo has written, directed, acted. I mean, it's a whole entire project. Sean Hannity, an executive producer and part of this project as well. You can check out the website. Go to lettherebelightmovie.com. So it's one of the top anticipated Christian films of 2017. We're excited about it for sure. Kevin, I want to ask you a question I think that's important. So Let There Be Light, give just a brief overview of what it's about. Like what's the kind of the general piece of the movie?
Well, it's about a man that's really fallen away from his faith. He's fallen away from everything in his life. He's divorced now for 8 years. They had a death of one of his children that sort of separated from his wife. His wife, a very strong faith woman, always praying for the redemption of her husband, who didn't like that or didn't believe in that. He's a man in conflict not only with his wife but his children, and he's in conflict with his Creator. And ultimately, where the story leads to is really a love story, because we say he has something happen to him, that he has a vision of some kind that sort of makes him start questioning his own worldview. It makes him question of where and what he was supposed to do and what his purpose in life is supposed to be. And like you mentioned earlier, you will laugh at this movie, you will cry at this movie, and eventually you will stand up and cheer, because it does offer a lot of things that a lot of people put on themselves, and that's we put a lot of limitations on ourselves, and we put limitations on other people. This movie is about opening yourself and getting past those limitations and being a better person and being the person that you were meant to be.
So let me ask you this. Every actor, especially someone that writes and has a part of writing a movie, there's a part of themselves in this. Where are you in this, in your own real life?
Well, certainly in the latter half of the movie, it's where I'm at. I mean, I've always had faith. I've always been a believer. I grew up a Christian in a little town in Minnesota. I grew up in a Lutheran church. I go to a non-denominational church now, but I've always had faith, but I never really needed faith until I went through my own crisis. And that was back in the end of season 5 on Hercules, where I had an aneurysm inside my shoulder, which I didn't know about, that exploded in my body, and I ended up suffering 3 strokes. And I'm very fortunate. I mean, obviously, I could have been killed instantly. I could have been in a wheelchair the rest of my life. 2 strokes went to my balance center. 1 went to my vision. I still have a 10% loss in both eyes. But it took me 4 months to learn how to stand up and walk again. And when you're playing a character like Hercules, that's pretty tough on your ego, especially a guy in your 30s in better shape than most guys in their 20s.
Right.
So it was a long 3-year process for me to fight. And a lot of that dealt with wrestling with God and wrestling with why. You know, my career was really taking off. I had a movie career taking off. Everything was put on a back burner. And, it was like, okay, why? And you start blaming everybody else. The reality is that it happened. And I had a strong wife with a strong faith that really just didn't, she took the kids' gloves off with me and said, it happened, well, how are you going to react to it? So I wrote a book called True Strength, which deals with that. And it deals with those roadblocks in life that we're all going to hit if we haven't hit it already. So what do you do when you hit that roadblock? How do you react to it instead of blaming the world? Look in the mirror. It's that man in the mirror, that Michael Jackson song, and that's where it starts. You got to say, I'm not going to let this hold me back. And I'm a very strong person, a very strong-willed person, and with God's help, I push past it.
That's powerful. I did not know that. That's a great story.
Check out True Strength. It's a good book.
It's a true
I do a
strength.
lot of speaking events with it, which has been a road and avenue I never thought I'd go down. I do pro-life speaking, I do Youth for Christ, and I do motivational speaking through my book and talking to hospitals and doctors and nurses and patients that have gone through what I've gone through.
Yeah, and I mean, Kevin, something like that is a story that reaches everyone. And so it's just powerful. I love.
Everyone's got a story, right? Everyone
has a story.
We think we're on our own on that island, but we're not. Everybody's got a story. Everybody has hardships in their lives because that's part of life.
Yeah,
and if you got life perfect and easy, just wait a while because it's going to change.
Live a little life for just a bit, and you'll see it for sure. So the movie we're talking with Kevin Sorbo, Let There Be Light. You can check out the website, lettherebelightmovie.com. We're excited about that. Now, Kevin, another thing, too, is, of course, when you're building Let There Be Light and you're putting that together and the theme of it, what is your goal? What's your outcome for people in this movie? What is your hope for this movie? More than just, great numbers and people coming, what's your hope for it?
Well, we hope that people take away something amazing out of this. We hope that people are, we've been so blessed with the responses from people, what we've been getting from people, that they check out the website, they can see testimonial videos. People have been so moved and uplifted by the movie through the screenings that we have had. We've got a screening this week in Washington, D.C. at the Value Summit there. I mean, I'm going to be there with Pence, Vice President Pence and President Trump, and a lot of other speakers are going to be there, Huckabee, Sarah Palin, all these people, and I'm going to be speaking as well. And we're the only movie they're screening this Friday night there in Washington, D.C., so it's very exciting.
That's super exciting.
We hope that people, that it changes their life in a positive way. I mean, if you look right now, it's so easy to see what's going on within our culture. The destruction, certainly, of families, of fatherhood, and that's what this movie deals with. The meaning of family is really the building block of the culture, and it's also a way to destroy the human relationship with our Creator when we're doing what we're doing with these other movies and other television shows that come up. Because once you untether people from God, there is no moral standard. Everything becomes permissible. Everything's okay. And chaos ensues. And you see it in our schools and our universities. You see the people, when they think socialism and communism is a good thing, when they
Kevin,
don't understand
we have to go to a break. I want to pick back up on this in just a minute. Kevin Sorbo, we're talking about the movie Let There Be Light, comes out October 27th. We'll be right back.
From director Kevin Sorbo and executive producer Sean Hannity comes Let There Be Light. Saul Harkins is a man who has turned away from God, but a near-fatal car crash gives him one last chance to renew his life, his family, and his faith. Let There Be Light, rated PG-13. May be inappropriate for children under 13. In theaters October 27th. More information is available at lettherebelightmovie.com.
The movie is called Let There Be Light. You can check it out, lettherebelightmovie.com. I'm talking with the writer, actor, producer, director, give him every title because he put it together, Kevin Sorbo. So glad to have you with us. We're talking about, you mentioned something just a minute ago that really, really hit me, and I want to ask you to dive into that a little bit. This movie gets into how fatherhood is undervalued. It's really, I guess it's under attack. What do you think that does to our culture, and what do you think it's doing to our kids, the family unit? What do you think is the result of that?
Well, you can see it in our culture right now. You go back to LBJ when he passed the the Welfare Reform Act back in 1964. African American populations back then had a 20% fatherless rate. We had 80% now within the African American community. 80%. 8 out of 10 kids are being raised without a father. And you see the repercussions of that. I always tell people, you look at Baltimore, Ferguson, you look at Chicago, you look in St. Paul, you look at all these riots and all these anti-police protests and all the rioting and the destruction of public and private property. Most of them are under 30 years of age, the men that are doing this, the young men that are doing this. Do you think any of these young men would be out there if they had biblical principles in their life? If they had any sort of upbringing within churches within their life, would they be out there doing what they're doing? Of course they wouldn't be doing it. And Christianity takes bashing all the time, but I keep saying, well, what negativity does Christian have? I mean, even President Obama had to go back to the Crusades to go, well, look at the Christians back in that time. I go, well, Mr. President, that was because the Muslim population was overtaking the Western, was conquering and waging war all across Western Europe. Of course they fought back. So it's amazing to me that they got to go back that far. Are Christians going out there? Are the ones that are flying airplanes in the buildings? Are the Christians are the ones? What do? They build hospitals. They come to help. Who are the first groups to help out in Hurricane Harvey and the fires that are happening in Northern California right now?
That's right.
It's amazing to me. But getting back to the father figures. It is a way to destroy the culture, as I said earlier. It's this destruction of getting rid of moral standards. I mean, John Adams, I think it was John Adams, that said something about our Constitution. That he said it was meant only for virtuous people. And once we lose our virtue, it's every man, woman, and child for him or herself, really. It becomes the survival of the fittest, right? And you can see it in our education. You can see it, the breakdown of everything within families. And it's just sad. I mean, the destruction speaks for itself of what's happening, the violence in America, and the anger and the hatred that's going on.
We're seeing a lot of it. I mean, so a movie like this that you put together, I think is really going to begin to transition and give a lot of hope to the hopeless. And it'll let there be light, right? It'll bring light to people's lives, and hopefully they'll see Jesus in the middle of that. What was the toughest part of building the movie when you were putting it together? I know it all came together great, and you filmed it in Birmingham with Sean Hannity's help, but what was the biggest challenge to overcome in the movie that once you saw it through, it became a victory?
Well, I think the biggest challenge was the shooting schedule that we had, because when you don't have a big budget, you've got to shoot 100-plus pages in less than 3 weeks. And that's frustrating, because you want to spend more time. You want to make sure you get it done right. We had an amazing crew. I worked with the crew out of Birmingham that shot a movie called Woodlawn that John Voight was in and Sean Astin was in. And these guys were great. I mean, from the camera department to the wardrobe to the set design to everything. It was just, they made it as easy as possible. And the city of Birmingham just rolled the red carpet out for us. And we got all the locations we wanted. And the extras showed up that wanted to be part of the movie in any kind of way. And it was, it sounds, cheesy saying it was a love fest, but it really was. I mean, everybody worked really hard, and this movie just came together. And I think the hardest part was probably in editing, because I wanted the movie to be about 20 minutes longer, but it's kind of normal to make movies in that hour and a half to hour and 45-minute range. And we lost a lot of good stuff in there, but it's still a very, very well done movie. It's just when you work that hard on a movie, it's hard to see some of the footage go away.
I'm sure. One of the things, Kevin, that's really important, of course, with this show being about health so much, and that's kind of our main focus. The biggest area of health with anyone is the mental part of their health, the way they think. If you can change someone's way of thinking as a physician, you really can do a lot with their body. So the body becomes sick a lot of times because of what goes into our minds. What I think is so great about this, and why I'm wanting to even have you here, and I think it's so great, number one is because of your faith. Number two is because it's going to get a great message of the gospel out, but it's also going to make an impact on the way people think. And we just have a couple of minutes left. One, I want to ask you is what about you? I know, health and fitness and nutrition and lifestyle has always been a major part of your life, has it not?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, I grew up as a jock. I played football, basketball, baseball all through school, and I love sports. We're homeschool advocates here with my kids, and if they want to, after they finish their work, if they want to play in their video games, they got to work out for an hour. I built a beautiful gym here at the house. In fact, I just got out of the gym here about a half an hour ago before we started talking. So
that's great.
I work out every day. I do something every day. Your body is your temple. I mean, it talks about it in the Bible how you should take, respect yourself, take care of yourself. And working out does a lot. I have an after-school program here for 20 years now. We're the number one after-school program in the state of California called the World Fit for Kids. And it's got the word fit in there for a reason. The first hour after school, we have the kids work out. Second hour, we work with their school problems, whatever it's math, biology, whatever they're problems with. It's proven that you work out for a good hour, hour and a half, your attention and retention levels spike. And that only makes sense. And to me, it's, your body is your temple. Keep I'll tell you what, you want to work out, you can have some sugar afterwards, because if you're working out, you're burning off those energy, you're burning off those calories. It's sitting around having those chips and ice cream and candy every day when you're just sitting around and not doing anything about it. So I love to work out. It makes you feel good, it makes you feel better, and it keeps you going for the rest of the day.
Kevin, we've got about a minute left. So we're talking to Kevin Sorbo. Make sure to go check out the movie's called Let There Be Light. You can go to the website, lettherebelightmovie.com. In 20 seconds, what do you want to tell anyone about this movie, Kevin?
You know, we really need people to support this movie. Our executive producer, Sean Hannity, he went out on a limb as a first-time producer to make a movie like this that is unabashedly Christian and that holds up forgiveness as one of our greatest virtues. People need to tell their churches and communities to go see the film opening weekend in theaters. Go to your churches. Go to lettherebelightmovie.com. If it opens strong, the more people will have the opportunity to see it. You know, small films struggle at box office, so we need people to get past the Hollywood-controlled medium of movies and send Hollywood a message that this is the kind of movies that Americans want to see.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Kevin, for being with us. Kevin Sorbo, writer, actor, director for the movie Let There Be Light. You can check it out, lettherebelightmovie.com. Make sure to support it and check it out. Kevin Sorbo, thanks again.
RX audio experience on Spotify and Pandora. For all the ways to watch and listen, check out our show page at asarx.com/experience.
Hi, it's Asa. I'm giving you a copy of my best-selling book for free to help you in your health journey today. I'll pay for the book. All you do is just cover the small shipping and handling costs. Go to asarx.com and get your free book today.
This episode is over, but check episode notes for links to products and services you've heard about on this episode. Thanks for listening and subscribing. Please share the ASA RX audio experience with others and stay in touch by giving us your comment or review.